Let's make a cake out of this. Today we are making one of my favorite cake recipes. It is my ultimate Kinder Bueno chocolate cake and it is by far the best I ever ate. So let's get started! The first step is to combine all your dry ingredients. Get them into a large mixing bowl. It's important to sift the cacao powder. If not, it's creating big lumps which are hard to mix. Now whisk all together and make sure everything is well incorporated. No small lumps are allowed here. In a second bowl, combine your wet ingredients. It might seem a lot of coffee, but trust me, it will level up all the flavors and you cannot taste coffee in the finished product. Give it a quick mix and pour your wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Now show some muscle power and whisk it until it all comes together. The finished butter is somewhat thin, but don't worry, it rises very well. Now we will do some quick prep. Butter 2 7-inch cake pans with butter spray and line the bottoms with rings of parchment paper. Now divide the butter evenly between 2 cake pans. You can eyeball it like I did or weight it on the kitchen scale. If you are unsure, go with the kitchen scale. Now listen carefully because I'm about to tell you my biggest secret for perfect flat layers. So buy yourself some cake strips. It is a real lifesaver. Basically you're soaking them in the water and wrapping around the cake. This way our cake is not getting crust outside and the top is perfectly flat. And if you don't have that strips, you don't need them. You can make your own in home. Let me show you how. Now wrap your homemade cake strip around your baking mold and make sure it is tight and sealed all the way around. Bake them on the center rack of a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 40 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. Once they come out of the oven, let them rest for 5 minutes, then run the knife around the edges, invert the cakes onto a wire rack, gently peel off the parchment paper and let them cool down completely. Wow, look at that fluffiness! Okay, my cakes are out of the oven and they are chilling in the fridge. In the meantime, you have plenty of time to prepare your frosting. I am going with a Swiss frosting. I tried it recently and in my opinion it's way better than classic American one. It is less sweet and it has a smoother consistency. So let's start with our frosting before we head on to our chocolate ganache. When making this frosting, you have to make sure that your bowl is 100% fat-free. And to do so, you have to wipe your bowl with some kitchen paper and vinegar. First step is to separate those egg whites and the egg yolks. Very carefully though, you can't get any of the yolk into the whites, because it will inhibit the meringue from foaming up and becoming creamy and delicious. Now add your sugar into the egg whites and whisk it together until it is completely incorporated. We need to cook this very carefully over a bath of water. Make sure to whisk continuously until the meringue becomes warmer and warmer and finally reaches 160 degrees Fahrenheit, or until the sugar is completely dissolved and the mixture is warm to the touch. In the same time, set also your chocolate over a water bath. Be careful to not overheat it. Once it's melted, pop it to the fridge to let it cool down. Now we have to mix this up until it becomes stiff and creamy. When making this frosting, it is really important to whip the meringue until it reaches room temperature. Now watch this! If you can see the stiff and glossy peaks, you can start adding the butter. 1 tablespoon at a time, letting it completely incorporate before adding the next one. Sadly, there is no way to reduce the large amount of butter. The frosting will just not have the structure and it's not gonna be usable for very much. Now it's finally time to pour that melted chocolate into the buttercream. The chocolate can't be hot, otherwise it will melt the whole frosting. Mix it up for about 1 minute until the frosting is fluffy and glossy. Now that's the reason why I love Swiss meringue buttercream so much. I could just eat it out of the bowl. In the same bowl, make your ganache. The ratio is simple here. 50% chocolate, 50% heavy cream. Let it melt over the water bath, stirring from time to time until you have a glossy and runny ganache. Get your piping bag along with a 8p nozzle and fill it with around 4 spoons of frosting. We will need it for the final touch later on. Once all the preparation is done, we are ready to assemble the cake. Place the first layer on a desired plate or cake platter. Spread the top with a generous amount of frosting. Using a flat spatula, even your butter. Honestly, this is my favorite part. Add the second layer with the flat side up so you have an even top. Add the remaining frosting onto the cake and spread it out. Don't forget about the sides. We are not going for a store-bought look, but you want to have your frosting somehow even, so just play around a little bit. And make sure your cake is straight. Now to the fun part, making a dripping chocolate cake. Pour your chilled ganache into the center, and if it's your first time, start with a small amount and slowly spread it into the edges. Carefully push the chocolate over the edge to create gentle drips. We are going for a rustic look, so just play around with your chocolate, if you still have some, and didn't eat it already out of the bowl. I'm finishing up my cake, decorating it with the leftover frosting we set it aside earlier. Be creative with this and make it look like you want. Now, what would a Kinder Bueno cake be without Kinder Bueno? Exactly, not a pretty good Kinder Bueno cake, so let's fix this problem. Now imagine this cake as a birthday gift, or maybe just enjoying it yourself. It is moist, fluffy, chocolatey, and just awesome. And if you like this type of recipes, head on to my Instagram where you can find lots of them. And let me tell you something else, it is really important that you hit that subscribe button. Also, I just launched my new website. Now all what's left to do is to give me a like, activate the bell, and I hope we see us in the next one.